most of what we do to try to get what we want is sabotage without us realizing it. And not just about the goal. It's disturbing that boundless peace that is natural. And it's not right or wrong or good or bad, because I want to make that really clear, because most people listening to something like that will go, well, he's saying I shouldn't have goals. No, I'm not saying that at all. You either will or won't. I'll even give you a written guarantee about that. But when we pursue a goal, there has to be a separate me to pursue it. There has to be this sense of a volitional entity that's apart from the whole to pursue a goal, because the whole is the fruition of all goals, yet it doesn't have any.
Welcome to the MINDTRX podcast, with breakthrough ideas to live your best life possible and how to make it happen. I'm Paul Scheele, and today we'll be talking with Hale Dwoskin. Hale is a New York Times best-selling author of the Sedona Method and a featured teacher in the Letting Go movie and The Secret movie and book. Hale has dedicated his life's work to sharing the Sedona Method, a simple process for releasing painful or unwanted emotions on the spot. This scientifically proven technique enables a whole new way of being naturally happy and at peace every day. It serves as the foundation for the Letting Go Paraliminal that Hale created with me, which you can find on the MINDTRX app. Hello, Hale. So good to be with you. Thanks for being a part of this podcast.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you in any form.
Well, I'm looking at your background. I'm seeing that beautiful mandala behind you, and I'd like to talk with you about the practice of meditation, because
Sure.
You know, the science is in. Everybody knows we should be meditating. Not everybody creates a time in their life to do it, but I'd like to talk with you about your history with it. When did you first get into meditation?
In my teenage years. I don't know exactly when, but I was pretty young when I first was introduced to meditation. I think the first meditation I ever did was in a yoga class. It was at the end of the yoga class. And I closed my eyes, and I don't even know if there was a mantra involved, but as soon as I closed my eyes, my body's sense of being embodied disappeared. So that was my first experience of meditation.
And then, did you think, I want lots more of that?
Of course. That's what most of us do when we have a little taste or glimpse of something beyond. We go, I need more of that now, please. Please. So at the time I liked it, and it came kind of a touchstone as I started meditating. It didn't happen that often. It happened occasionally.
Right.
And I went through various meditations. I went through, let's see if I can remember. I did TM for a short period of time, and it didn't resonate. That was after that experience.
Yeah, being transcendental meditation.
Yeah, transcendental meditation.
Yeah, when I first got started in meditation, I was in my late teens, 18 years old. It was super conscious meditation was a class, but it was through Raja Yoga. It was the 8 rungs, and I learned meditation through that, and I became a Hatha yoga instructor. But what I understood that you really got into it. You even traveled to India at some point, didn't you?
Yeah, later in life I did, but it wasn't based on meditation. My wife and I met a man who did Panchakarma and things like that. And he was, so we went for a regiment of healing, where there was intensive massages and herbs and all that other kind of stuff. That was actually, incidentally, it was right before 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And we were actually in India when 9/11 happened.
Wow.
So that was a very interesting experience, and especially getting back. It took a while to get back because at first everything was closed down, and on the way back, we flew into LAX, and it was like a ghost town. There we flew. I can't remember what airline we flew, but it was a nice airline.
Almost like after the pandemic, everything was a ghost town then as well.
Yes, yeah. yes. So, I think it was even more extreme. I mean, I think I was on a Southwest flight with 12 people on it.
Oh my goodness.
And there was also piles of going through, all of a sudden on the way out, there wasn't any big deal about security. On the way out, there were piles of little scissors and nail clippers and all these weird things by where you went through the checks and stuff.
All of those dangerous weapons.
All those dangerous weapons. That's right.
Well, now getting back to your practice of meditation, what kind of discipline did you maintain in those early days?
It's hard to remember because I was only 22. So I started as a teenager and I experimented with various forms of meditation and also things like rebirthing and yoga. I did a lot of yoga. I did Tai Chi. I did actualisms. I did a bunch of different things to shift consciousness besides just sitting quietly with eyes closed. So it was all mixed in together. And then I learned the Sedona Method at age 22.
Okay.
And that became, I stopped meditating at that point because life became a meditation.
Good. And
everything in life supported that peaceful centeredness that I used to think I had to meditate to get. So I just started using the Sedona Method, and it was something that I did in a disciplined way for decades, most of the day. So,
all right. So let's talk about this kind of a shift. What was it about the releasing method and I guess also your meeting with Lester Levenson, learning it? What was it about that experience that caused you to turn toward this releasing process?
Well, the results.
Yeah.
I remember in 1977, I was walking through Times Square, and this is before it was gentrified. There weren't all the big billboards. It was kind of a pit. I don't even know why I was there. I think I was coming after a Broadway show or something like that. And ordinarily in the past, before I learned releasing, I would have been really kind of uptight being there because it was dark. There were peep show places and pimps on the street, and it was a mess, homeless. And in the past, when I'd been in an environment like that, I was always in a very contracted state and was in a hurry to get through that. But what happened is the sense of me disappeared. And there was just walking and a sense of profound, unshakable peace. I don't remember how long it lasted, but it really caught, I can still remember it to this day. It really caught my attention. And so the combination of having a personal relationship with Lester and all the support I got from him, because anytime I did anything with Lester, there was just this energetic inner opening and lift that was quite profound. And then the practice itself, no matter what was going on in life, I found that I got quieter and calmer and more focused, and I found all the same benefits as meditation, except that I wasn't technically meditating, or I wasn't doing the typical meditation practice, and the results were rapid and cumulative, and haven't left to this day. And now I don't really have a regular practice. Life is just basically living itself.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I want to get at that idea. There's something about releasing, which I came to understand in meditation, that when a thought occurs, or in your case, as a feeling occurs and a thought occurs, that there's a watching it, there's an observance of it, and there's a letting it come to pass, that you don't attach to it. Is this what the practice enabled you to do more easily?
Oh, yes. There was really early on, there was more and more of a sense of witnessing that was not just while releasing, but in life. There was a sense of life unfolding, and there was an inner sense of just sitting back and with a sense of welcoming or allowing or just simply watching. And this again went on for decades. The witnessing has only recently fallen away to more of a sense of just nothing and everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to then try to show the contrast between living a life of allowing or welcoming whatever emerges compared to what I encountered when I first got going in self-improvement, self-development, where we were really being taught to visualize and see a goal and affirm our capacity to get to that goal and work towards it and be in and all of that sort of thing. What is the difference for you? When is that kind of a practice actually obstructive compared to really enhancing one's journey through life?
Well, it really depends on what it is that someone wants. If you want more money, then focusing on manifesting more money can be a useful endeavor. But if you're wanting to, and it's not an if, because you can have both. It's not an either or, it's an and. And at the same time, this sense of beingness, or this beingness that all is, doesn't require us to help it live life. It is already living through everything. You, me, the digital device that you're listening through, it's living through your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences. It is life itself, and it's not personal. It's just universal, and that has no goals. It's never had a goal. Yet, as a person in life, it's natural for that to arise, and as long as you're pursuing it in an integrous way, where instead of just simply trying to manipulate life, but you're opening and surrendering and allowing, then goal achievement can be a natural part of life's unfoldment, just like anything else.
Yeah, so let's take a moment with that, because you use the word want or desire and goal. And there's also the idea of attachment.
Yes.
When we become attached to our desiring or our desire to have something that we don't
Yes.
currently have, there seems to be a bit of a twist in the energy that I'm getting, at least by implication of what you're saying, might not be all that helpful to
Well,
creating what it is you're actually desiring.
absolutely. Most of what we do to try to get what we want is sabotage without us realizing it. And not just about the goal. It's disturbing that boundless peace that is natural. And it's not right or wrong or good or bad, because I want to make that really clear, because most people listening to something like that will go, "Oh, he's saying I shouldn't have goals." No, I'm not saying that at all. You either will or won't. I'll even give you a written guarantee about that. but when we pursue a goal, there has to be a separate me to pursue it. There has to be this sense of a volitional entity that's apart from the whole to pursue a goal, because the whole is the fruition of all goals, yet it doesn't have any. So there can be this feeling of being contracted or out of harmony pursuing a goal that may arise, but that is also can be transcended. And in that, the goal itself may disappear or not. The goal itself may happen or not. But either way, there is a sense of well-being. There's a sense of openness. There's a sense of expansion and ease that can become unshakable.
And it gets shaken when we have thoughts about, wait, I had this goal, it didn't happen, what's wrong with me? Why can't I seem to get what I want? I've got this extra weight, I've got this bad bank debt, I've got this, that, I want to get rid of it, I want to stop it.
Yes, absolutely.
And in all of these mental machinations, what happens is we end up getting ground up in the gears of all of that.
Yes,
so
that's how it feels.
So the releasing starts with the release of the attachment of the outcome, or where does it start? Does it start in just looking at those thoughts, or where?
Well, actually, releasing starts wherever there's a sense of your finger in the gear, or your foot, or your head. Most of us have our head and our gut in the gears. Right. And so what releasing is really is just a sense of opening, a sense of allowing, a sense of non-clinging. That can happen spontaneously. It does happen spontaneously in life. However, with the Sedona Method, what happens is you're trained through, you learn several processes that help make it easier and easier to do. So the goal of the process is not so that you're doing a process your whole life. The goal is to just get in touch with that natural openness and exuberance that we come in with. Young children don't need to be trained to be exuberant and to be open and to be alive. Right. We actually train it out of them. Big time. And so the Sedona Method helps you dissolve that excess programming or training. And what also can happen as you release is there could be this sense of boundlessness or ease, even if there are thoughts, even if there are feelings. At first, you feel like you're freeing yourself from your mind and from your attachments and aversions. And that can feel amazingly liberating. But it doesn't stop there. The sense of a you who's being freed starts to thin and dissolve. And then there is just, and already is, freedom or boundlessness or beingness. And that needs no maintenance, needs nothing.
That's
and
nice.
Is everything.
And I always saw that the practice of meditation, many people would elevate their consciousness to this high and holy place and then descend back into the world.
Big time.
Right?
Yeah.
With a thud.
Yeah.
And one of my teachers said, the goal of meditation isn't to raise your life up to this high spot and then, go deal with the world. It's to raise everything about living to that high place where you recognize it wherever you are. Yeah. So it sounds like there's that ability to let go of the expectation that it should be some way other than it is, brings in a lot of things like appreciation, gratefulness, and love, and contentment, and joy, and peace, and all of those other delightful experiences that are natural to us on an ongoing basis.
Absolutely. At first, it feels like the act of releasing or letting go is bringing that forward or uncovering it. And then it can be discovered that it is just what is naturally, with or without anything. It just is.
Whether we're there trying to make it or not.
Yes, the less we're there trying to bring life up or bring it down or open, or the less there is that sense of having to do anything with gears, even get your finger out of them. The gears themselves dissolve. Nice. And there's just life living itself. And a lot of times people hear things like that and they think, oh my God, how am I going to take care of my life if I'm not there to manipulate and control it and all that stuff? Well, you're not there already. It's just an appearance. Life is already living itself beautifully. Nice. Yeah. Even when it seems to us from our limited perspective that it's not going the way we want it to, but it's still life living itself. And that includes everything that's happening.
But only everything.
Only everything, exactly. Just everything.
There's this phrase that Bill Levacy uses, a Sanskrit phrase: intention, attention, no tension. And our friend Marci Shimoff really picked up on that. And if we could establish an intention and bring our attention to it, and then go about our day with no tension within us,
yes,
life tends to follow the form that we've established for it to fill in. Does that make sense? Is that
it makes total sense from the perspective of being a person? Absolutely. And it also appears to work within the dream of me. It definitely does. Except that the absence of tension is really the only really important part. Right. Intention will happen or it won't. Attention will happen or it won't. Often we try to maintain attention, and in doing so, we get really tense. Because, oh no, I wasn't paying attention just now. I was just living. Oh my God, I got to pay attention. But yes, those three things can be incredibly helpful. If we feel like a person in a life that needs to be manipulated and controlled by us, then absolutely that is an incredibly helpful and powerful tool. Incredibly helpful and powerful. Yeah. And there's so many tools, both I know you teach a lot of them and they're amazing. They're incredible. And meditation itself is taught in so many places. And for quieting the mind and calming the body and allowing for the space to reveal itself to itself, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, it seems like the workshops that you do continue to just roll on and continue to grow. And is it more relevant today than it has been in the past? What's happening with humanity that makes the concept of the Sedona Method, being able to release and be present, what's emerging, so key for humanity at this moment?
Well, I don't have to tell anyone listening to this that there's just a touch of tension in the planet. Just a tiny bit. There's, and it's not just happening in the United States, it's happening all over the world. There's a polarization and almost an energetic tearing apart that's happening, both to the planet and to us as human beings. And I think it's just part of the natural evolution of
systems growing and decaying.
Yes, absolutely. But also with that, there is an openness that's happening, a willingness to not just cling to the old ways, not just in life, but internally. Most of us, by the time we're young adults, we've established most of the internal patterns we're going to live with the rest of our lives, and we never question them. It's just the way it is. And what's happening now is I think there's more and more of an openness to questioning all of that, to being open to the possibility it doesn't always have to be the way it was. And so what the Sedona Method does is it helps support you in that exploration. So, and you can start to see where there's still contraction within the body-mind system, where you're still holding yourself back, where you're denying yourself, where you're staying in a state of hypervigilance or in opposition to things that don't agree with the way you want it to be. And it's a very uncomfortable position to live in. And as that drops away within you, as you let go, life, even if it's not going the way you would want it to, takes on this openness and this sweetness and even joy at times, and a transparency. So it's not all consuming, and it makes everything easier. It makes and it's so needed now. It's so needed.
Well, and I've been describing this great turning in human history. It does seem to be, in terms of general systems theory, a critical moment in the human family. So it does make a lot of sense. We had our grandchildren sleeping over a couple of weekends ago, and the little 3-year-old at the time woke up in the middle of the night quite agitated, and Libby gave me a little nudge to go handle it.
It was your turn.
Right. So I got up and I simply laid down with her and put my hand on her and said, "It's okay. It's okay." She was gone. Instantly gone.
Right.
And very often it's what we say in hospice when it's time for someone to pass. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. And for me, the Sedona Method it's going to be okay. Whether you're busily trying to make it okay or not, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just let it go. It's okay.
Yeah.
And when we do, I love this idea that the wellspring of life that's always trying to emerge and continue to expand is no longer held back by my efforting and saying that it's not okay.
Right.
The way it is.
It's interesting. It was never really held back by that, but it makes it much less fun. Life is life is infinite and boundless.
My experience of it, I'll say. My
Oh yeah,
experience of
absolutely.
it
The
is
experience,
held
yeah,
back.
experience can be very different
Yes.
than what is actually happening. Very
So,
different.
so of all of the techniques, you know that one of my favorite in the Sedona Method has been the triple welcoming.
Yes,
You and
yes.
I did a paraliminal based on that. And I'm wondering if you could explain to our listener what is triple welcoming and why it works the way it does.
Oh, sure, sure. I'd be happy to do that. So, triple welcoming is basically the whole Sedona method. Well, most of the Sedona method. When I in early '90s, Lester Levenson passed all the copyrights to me, and he said to me that as you work with this, it's going to get simpler and a lot more powerful. And I didn't believe him, honestly, but I what happened is through being in front of a room working with people, the process continued to evolve and unfold, and I discovered that um, you trying to drop something, sometimes even that's too much. And just welcoming or allowing or being present with whatever was arising was incredibly helpful. And so that's one of the tools that we teach experientially. And I also discovered that there are certain places that we get stuck. And again, this happened just in working with people. I didn't think about it. It was just presented. Oh, I see. Here's a pattern. And if you repeat this pattern, it really helps people. And so the three places we get stuck, we either get stuck in the story of what's happening, in that there's a certain event, we're sure it's not the way it isn't the way we want it to be, or even more neutral than that, it's something is happening that may or may not be something we like. So the first thing that is welcomed is just whatever's apparently happening. And then the nature of the person, when we feel separate, we think we need to fix it, change it, control it, understand it, do something with or without or about it. And that's about everything. What our body is doing, what the news is saying, what politics is doing, how much money we have in the bank, our relationships, our health, everything. And it's from the moment we wake up in the morning until when we go to sleep at night. There is this constant thinking that something needs to happen. Something needs to change. Whatever is apparently happening isn't right. And so if you welcome this tendency to feel like you need to do something with or about it, that also starts to dissolve. And then lastly, all of that is hooked to just one misconception, that it's all happening to me. This sense of ownership, this sense of I'm the knower, I'm the doer, it's all about me, basically. We think the whole universe revolves around what we want or don't want. And when you welcome that also starts to dissolve. And when you welcome the three of those together, it has this very profound unraveling effect on whatever apparent limitation you're dealing with. And so that's triple welcoming. And it evolved just simply through working with people and seeing what really helped.
So let me just get a final bit of clarification on it. It's very clear that there is some resistance happening when we're not welcoming it. And if we're resisting it, then it's going to persist in our experience.
Yes.
And if you welcome it, the resistance goes away, but as you say, it dissolves or it unravels.
Yes.
To what? Back to life as it is?
Well, it was always just an appearance. The appearance of the resistance and the contraction melts.
So Any
Yes.
attachment I have, any story I have about it, any energy I put toward it, if I welcome it, none of that's there.
Well, it dissolves. It becomes no more substantial than a ripple in a stream or a wave in the ocean. In the stream, in this analogy, the stream is the stream of life, the ocean of life. It's the ocean. The ocean doesn't resist the waves. The waves are just part of the ocean. It's just an ocean waving. Well, as there's a sense of welcoming, and also if that sense of as that sense of being a separate person dissolves, there is just what's apparently happening, and there's no points of the life is just an unfolding. It defies description, actually.
Right. So I'm lost in an image of myself being in the Gallatin Valley in Montana, standing knee deep in a trout stream, and just so overwhelmed by the beauty of it all, and the water going past me. I have no attachment to anything in that stream. I have a fly rod in my hand.
Yes.
And I can fly fish. If someone asked me, did you catch anything? I would think, does it matter that I caught anything or not? That's really inconsequential.
Yes,
I'm participating in it as an activity, but whether I get to an outcome of it, of a fish for the fry pan for lunch for Libby and me, or not, completely unnecessary. I'm just I'm absolutely absorbed in. And the distinction between where I stop or start and where the universe that's so gorgeous all around and within me begins and ends is inconsequential and just part of all of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everyone listening, I'm sure, has their own trout stream.
Yeah. I think a lot of our activities are often geared toward getting us to that place. For example, Libby, as an artist, gets into her painting in a way in which she's there. Someone who plays golf releases themselves so completely, so they're participating in this magnificent experience. They're somehow overcoming mind. We call it flow, I think, is a description of it.
Yes. So that's what's natural. What I was going to add to that is the people don't pay attention to the flow because it's natural. We pay attention to the rocks in the stream, to whether or not we've caught a fish, to how pretty the artwork is. You can't really create if you're judging the art as you're making it. The art makes itself. But people experience that throughout life all the time. They're just, life is living, and it's even in simple things like even you can even disappear the sense of stress depending on what you're looking at. But even looking at your phone, if you're stressing over something or the news or a post, then maybe not. But if you just kind of really engage with the phone, time disappears, and there's just the phone, and there's no boundaries to that. There really actually aren't boundaries. They just appear to be. And this boundlessness that is already is part of the reason is what we usually are looking for when we do any process, including the Sedona Method or meditation or listening to Paraliminals. Paraliminals also help allow there to be a taste of this boundlessness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just important for all of us to remember, or not. It really doesn't matter if you remember, but that is what's already natural. The paraliminals, the releasing, the meditation is just a pointer towards that which is already, and it's not dependent on that. Nothing is.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, all those things can be really helpful and really fun.
Exactly. And why not pick the thing that's most fun for you to participate in it, whether it is this, that, or the other thing?
Yes.
So to wrap it up,
yes,
knowing that all good things must end, at least from our experience of it,
right? Exactly.
Even though it all continues, whether we're participating in it or not.
Right.
How would you like to leave our listener with kind of the moral of the story from your own life, from the arc of where you started seeking this level of peace to where you are today? What would you give to our listener in encouragement?
So, first off, trust the process. Allow yourself to just love and honor and nurture yourself wherever you are or wherever you appear to be. And allow yourself to explore the nature of being. Beingness is what we're experiencing all the time, and what is even when we're not experiencing it. And it is already boundlessness. It is already limitless. And just being open to that as a possibility tends to invite you into that more consciously. And also just know that the bumps, the setbacks, the apparent failures, the apparent problems that we deal with every day, some big, some small, all of those are like waves in the ocean. They come, they go, and they don't have to limit you in any way, shape, and form, because what you are is what all is. This boundless being. And it is already wholeness. It is already perfection.
And life is just waving at us after all, right? It's a great image.
It's great.
Thank you so much, Hale. Always a pleasure for me to be
likewise.
with you.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Hale Dwoskin. You can learn more about Hale at sedona.com. That's sedona.com. And now in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll tell you how to use the Paraliminal sessions in the MINDTRX app to easily handle obstacles and move toward the success you want, especially as it relates to our discussion with Hale. If you're new to the relaxing Paraliminal audio sessions, they use breakthrough technologies to activate your whole mind in only 20 minutes to help improve any area of your life. Let's get going. Hi, and welcome to the follow-on session of my conversation with Hale Dwoskin. as we were exploring the Sedona Method, the concept of releasing as a way of meditating and being in the flow of life itself. Fascinating stuff. His spiritual awareness is tremendous. His ease and his sense of joy with the way everything is exactly as it is refreshing. I hope you agree. And when I'm thinking about putting his ideas into practice, there are really three major topics that came up. One is the idea of releasing. Second is about being able to allow and experience more of what life is actually trying to bring us, to remind us that we have. And the final is, how can we actually go about creating the life that we choose to live while being in the flow of life? When I think about the paraliminals that could assist us in each of these three areas, there are quite a few that came up. Certainly, foremost, the triple welcoming process that Hale Dwoskin and I recorded in the Paraliminal titled Letting Go, must do. It's really a remarkable experience. And it's something that once you play it and practice it on an ongoing basis, you recognize that whatever is happening, just by allowing it, whatever feeling you're feeling, just allow it. And what it does is it dissolves any of the tension or contraction that might be present around the way you are interacting with it. So it really is a lovely experience. I encourage you to use it, become familiar with it, be able to practice it on your own, whether you're listening to the Paraliminal or not. The second area of focus for me is that idea of allowing and really experiencing more of life. Years ago, I created a home study program called Euphoria, in which I contacted a number of people. Hale Dwoskin was one of them. And I asked them, if you were to help someone realize more euphoria in their life, what would you teach them? And every single one of those authors that I contact said the same first line. They said, well, euphoria is our natural state. And if someone's not experiencing them, this is what I would teach them. And Hale taught the Sedona Method. And I created a paraliminal, same thing. How do we get in touch with that natural state of euphoria, which is our essential nature, the way in which we were born to live into this world? That, as Hale mentioned, gets trained out of us early on in life. So that's one paraliminal. And then there's a couple of others that talk about the essential emotions that are a part of life. Gratitude paraliminal and joy paraliminal are both perfect for this. And then there's a paraliminal called 5 Elements Healing, and that takes you through 5 of the essential emotions that are associated with the various organ systems in the body and with colors and with the emotions, then establishing greater harmony and health and well-being. And it does take you through those 5 emotions: happiness, joy, peace and groundedness, contentment, and gratitude. And those 5 emotions associated with these 5 organ systems keep us in that flow of life. It allows us to have a high level of well-being on an ongoing basis. So each one of those paraliminals is really intended to put you into the experience of what's more natural to us, this natural expansive nature that is the nature of life itself. Now, Hale talked about humanity getting itself into kind of a pickle these days. Therefore, a lot of these technologies are very helpful to help us see our way through some of the gnarly problems that we have to address. But it is essential to remember that you can't do in order to be. You can't do things in order to be at peace. You can't do in order to be joyful. Joy and peace are natural states. So they are states of being. And so you be that, and then all of your doing will be elevated, more easy, more in the flow. You'll find greater sense of self-expression and a real alignment with that natural flow and current that life brings us into the true nature of who we are. And I would encourage you certainly to pick any one of those emotions that you feel you may be lacking in. Listening to a paraliminal is going to help you remember that that is one of the natural states within you. The next area of the three areas we're talking about is creating while being in that flow of life. And in that regard, I've picked three paraliminals. One which I feel is excellent around understanding the great fullness of life that is. And this is a key message that Hale was teaching. It's also a key message that Lynne Twist teaches in The Soul of Money. And Lynne and I did paraliminal called Soul of Money. Really puts you in that flow. Now, a big fan of Lynne Twist's and a very successful entrepreneur who lives very abundantly in Japan is a man named Ken Honda, and he and I did a paraliminal called Happy Money. It's this idea that here is this wellspring, this bubbling fountain of abundance and prosperity, and we can align with that, allow our financial reservoirs to fill, and what flows out once our reservoir is full, we can give and keep in the flow of life for all those that we might serve. So Soul of Money and Happy Money are a great combination, kind of a 1-2 paraliminal that can be very effective in helping us create our lives as we desire while being in the true flow, not stagnant, not as Hale called contracted, but really feeling a sense of expansiveness, the abundant nature of the universe itself. It is expansiveness. The final paraliminal is self-actualizations. It's based on Abraham Maslow's concept of being self-actualized, which is a 5-level pyramid, and self-actualization is the top. But the essential message of this paraliminal is that actually Abraham Maslow was talking about a next level beyond being self-actualized, and that's being self-transcendent. Now, if you go back and listen to the podcast with Hale, you'll hear this living into a much more transcendent experience of life. It's really transcended the human form, the human identity, and transcended to this more transcendent nature of life itself, which is infinite, expansive, abundant, and is filled with joy and peace and grace and love. And that is really the highest expression of who we are as human beings, is to come to that self-transcendent state. That's exactly what that paraliminal self-actualizations focuses you on, is how to enter into and live into that transcendent nature that you are. Well, enjoy the paraliminals. Thanks again for being a part of this podcast. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the Paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that is, your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and to propel you toward the success you want. Go to www.mindtrx.com/go. That's www.mindtrx.com/go. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your world today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the MINDTRX podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. Thank you again for being here on our MINDTRX podcast.